Hello and welcome to this very first episode of Phi Con, Philosophy Consulting. My name is Christopher Sigmond and I'm the CEO at SiriusSounds. At SiriusSounds, we proffer philosophy consulting. So, what is philosophy consulting? That's usually the first question I get when I tell people what I do. And in this episode, we're gonna find out. So let's start by defining the words philosophy and consulting. Philosophy comes from the ancient Greek word philosophia, which in turn comes from the ancient Greek words philos, meaning friend or beloved, which is also cognate to love, and sophia, which means wisdom or knowledge. Consulting comes from the Latin word consulo, which means to seek counsel from, to be mindful of something, or to reflect. So, philosophy consulting could then mean seeking counsel from wisdom's friend, or reflecting on knowledge as the beloved, or perhaps being mindful of the love of wisdom. However, it's worth noting that we have now moved from defining two words, philosophy and consulting, and defined them using a whole set of words. Love, friend, beloved, wisdom, knowledge, being mindful, reflecting, seeking counsel. And these words could and should be defined as well. But in order to do that, we will have to use even more words. And then we would have to define those words using even more words, and 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 so on and so on. So it's like turtles all the way, right? Well, not quite. Because in a natural language such as English, there is not an unlimited number of words. Which means that sooner or later, we're going to have to start using words we have already used in order to define the new ones. So it's more like a snake biting its own tail. But where do we start? That's precisely it. Indeed, how can you fathom the meaning of a word when all the words used to describe it require that you know those words? However, that seems to work out fine for the vast majority of us, as we are immersed in languages from a very early age and make the connections between the words and the objects or concepts, the denotations. And then we also learn to associate the cultural context of those words, the connotations. So here we are, defined and ready to go. Can you explain that in another way? All right, well, let's say that philosophy consulting means helping people, that's the consulting part, to find greater knowledge. And how do you do that? We have 4 basic setups. The first one is inspirational events like lectures, shows, concerts, dance events, or maybe this video. The second is a one-on-one coaching. Like we're doing now? Something like that, but a bit more dynamic. Why is that? Well, talking to you, I feel a bit like I'm talking to myself for some reason. Then we have workshops, ranging anywhere from 2 hours to several days. At these we go much more in depth with practical exercises for body, mind and emotions. We practice social skills and we learn from each other. Sounds very transformative. Indeed. Maybe also a little bit scary. Well, possibly. Especially if you're reluctant to meeting yourself. Like we're doing now, something like that. And then we have collaborations. We both teach collaboration and we collaborate with other people. I'd love to learn to collaborate. Wouldn't we all? Well, it's a work in progress. And you know what they say? To really master something, you should teach it. All right, well, thank you very much. That was very informative. Thank you. It was a pleasure. And with that being said, I have a question to you, dear viewer. Why would you seek counsel from wisdom's friend? And while you ponder that, I will sing a song called Homo erectus. Homo what? Erectus. Are you serious? Yeah, Sirius is a stage name that I use sometimes. But let's save that for another episode. Whatever. You go ahead and sing your song. All right. Stand up. It's time to straighten up. It's time to stand up, stand up. It's time to straighten up. Zeno was a man of grace, about to face the tortoise pace. Tide away, time's not real. Clock's just turning like a wheel. By demons night and day, couldn't differ light from gray. Skeptic thoughts at last surrender. See thought as thoughts on wonder. It's time to stand up, stand up. It's time to straighten up. It's time to stand up, stand up. It's time to straighten up. Locked in chains we speculate, of the shadows incarnate. Need to surf the turning tide, out and watch the countryside. Building statues from my mind, from the posture in my spine. Coiled awake and now will rise, reaching further, improvise. Alright, that's it for the first episode of Phi Con. If you liked it, make sure that you subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below. And tell your friends. And I'd love to read your comments, so please feel free to write comments or questions. What inspired you? What made you happy? What made you curious? And until next week, I wish you inspiration, harmony, and joy. Oh, that wasn't half bad. Thanks. That means a lot coming from you.